Going to ask you about this. We knew there was going to be a handful more, at least, governors tomorrow that were going to come out and say it was time for Joe to go. But just looking through some of these brand new statements as they come in following the news, perhaps Tony Evers of Wisconsin, the governor, was going to make the call tomorrow. We don't know that. But he did issue a statement acknowledging the president stepping out, calling him an extraordinary president, if not the most well-accomplished presidents of my lifetime. But he goes on to say that the decision remains clear, the choice remains clear this November, calls Donald Trump a dictator, a lot of work ahead of us. Wisconsin Democrats, he said, and I will spend every moment and every day for the next 107 days working to defeat him, but does not mention Kamala Harris. Yeah. So this will be the question as we read through all these statements. I mean, how many are throwing their support behind the vice president?
And also, what is her political operation like? I'm curious about that, Sandra, because I do think she knew what his condition was, okay? She will deny it, but I do think that she knew. But I don't think that her political operation was up and running. Lisa Booth just mentioned all of those reboot stories there were. There were so many of them over time. Think of how many, think of that Wall Street Journal story where there were 45 sources questioning Biden's mental capacity and acuity, right? And the White House came down on them like a ton of bricks. Turns out, actually, all of it was true. But also think about the on-the-record sources on the stories about Kamala Harris over the past 3.5 years. Okay, those weren't very good. And also, when they start to pick apart her record, I don't think it will stand up very well. There's not much, actually, from the Senate that she did. Yes, I think she was a pretty good questioner at the hearings. If you're looking for somebody who had a little bit of red meat questions, the hearing with Brett Kavanaugh comes to mind. If you're a Democrat, you might really like that. But other than that, there is not a lot of accomplishments to point to.
Oh, and the thing with the border just became a complete disaster to the point where it looked like she completely washed her hands of it, didn't want to have anything to do with it. The Congressional Black Caucus just came out in support of a Kamala Harris nomination, saying the Congressional Black Caucus PAC joins President Biden in fully supporting Kamala Harris and our party's nominees. So sorry, that's the PAC. It's not the actual Black Caucus, though I'm sure that they will do the same thing. Dana, you said that you had some thoughts about LBJ and all of this.
I think a couple of things to mention. So I had this great fortune of doing a voiceover for a documentary that's a short one on Fox Nation about the 1968 campaign. And it was fascinating because there were things that I had forgotten and things that I had my memory refreshed on. But one of them was that, yes, LBJ was having some trouble looking like he was going to win. But as I understand it, he had also suffered a heart attack, and he was very fearful and really freaked out about his own health. And Lady Bird Johnson did not want him to run again. And she didn't even know up until he made the statement that he was going to pull out. She wasn't sure. Contrast that with what we have at this point, which is the stories that we know about First Lady Jill Biden really wanting her husband to remain as president. The family, remember that story from Camp David after the Annie Leibovitz photo shoot, and they have brunch, and they tell the President Biden, Dad, you got to stay in. Joe, you got to stay in. Oh my gosh, you were so great. You answered all the questions. I mean, I certainly hope that I live long enough to read the history of what actually was going down on this campaign, because Weekend at Bernie's is going to look like, I don't know.
I mean, but let's not forget, it was just, I mean, not too distant future where the Democrats and the media were slamming all these videos that were emerging of Obama walking him off the stage and beyond, and him freezing up when they were all dancing around him. Cheap fakes, they called them. And they said that the media was manipulating these videos to make it appear that his health was stumbling.
I would imagine that the White House press office might consider, issuing a blanket apology to reporters who were doing the right thing. Lucas Tomlinson, almost a year to the day, when Biden was in Nantucket last year, he shouts a question, Mr. President, are you too old to run for office? And remember, they came down on him again, like a house brick. They tried to make Lucas Tomlinson look like the meanest, biggest. He was right. And if you were watching this channel, you would not have been surprised. And it wasn't out of being mean or being angry. It was being observant and pointing it out. And I do think that there is no overstating the danger of keeping an American president in office when he's too frail to run for re-election. I think it's on the merits, that point. I've been thinking about it, John, ever since you asked me.
But in terms of the White House coming out with an apology, I think we can probably apply the title of the Eagles' comeback album, their reunion album.
That is not going to happen. But I honestly think, like, when they leave the White House, like, think about that.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.